Good evening, PGA DFS fans. We come on the air with breaking news. If you haven't seen it already, one of the favorites in this week's Valero Texas Open. I was about to say championship, thinking it's Valspar. No, Abraham Ancer has just been ruled out. Who knows? Maybe he wants to get to Augusta. He was coming off of his best finish of the year at the match play. So we'll talk about a little bit more about that in our waves, weathers, and withdraw. Ben, I'm going to bring you in. Say thank you to Yahoo as well, the sponsor of our show. They've got some pretty decent contests out this week, and I'm sure we'll be bumping it up next week. And we've got a sweet deal I'll tell you about in a little bit to get you some access to some good projections for next week for free. So Ben, it looks like you're on an incredibly good run with one and done picks. They have not missed the cut in quite a while. But what do you make of this? I saw, I read all of your stuff. Abraham Ancer was a great play this week and a big play for you. So we're going to break down where to go with that, aren't we?
So if you read my articles, thank you for reading them, but just know, don't play Abraham Ancer in one and done. Like I strongly recommended. I guess you could still bet him. You'll just be getting the void ticket. I bet him at 22-1. That'll feel like a win because the money will be returning to my account any day now. That always, every so often we get one, but I'll be honest, and I don't know why. That just really surprises me. He didn't strike me as the guy that I thought might not tee it up. If it was Decky or Bryson, I'd say, you know what, maybe it's an injury or something, but I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, and Ancer's a Texas guy for college. Obviously, he's from Mexico, but went to college around here. So definitely an interesting one there. We'll have to try and dig a little deeper. That news was like literally just breaking as we came on air, so we can't source it for you right now. But we'll start off the show very quickly. We've got a lot to get to. Of course, we've got a big week this week to try and win a lot of money for next week, build that bankroll. But I want to talk about Scottie Scheffler, man. He is the number one ranked golfer in the world. Now, obviously, recent results will give a little bit to that. Maybe you and I could, debate that he's probably maybe not the best golfer, but something goes to say about Scottie Scheffler right now. He is getting it done. Obviously, next week will be the big test, but where do you rank Scheffler? I mean, he is priced as the highest golfer on DraftKings next week. Has he earned everything at this point?
So he's definitely 100% in my mind earned everything. He deserves to be, where he is, and this is where I guess you can, there's data and then there's opinions. Like, do I think he's the best golfer in the world? No, I do not. I think he may be playing the best in the world, as guys do from time to time, but no, I do not think that. The guy's been unbelievable. He's won 3 times this year already. I mean, it's been
3 times in the calendar year, not even, going back to the fall swing. It's in good events, right? I mean, coming from behind at the Arnold Palmer was great. Obviously, there's something that goes with Austin Country Club and Scottie Scheffler. That's just fantastic. But we'll debate him a little bit more next week. Certainly can't expect him to be all that highly owned, given that he's going to be highest priced at the biggest event of the year. So we will now go into this week's stuff and go into our waves, weathers, and withdraws. We kind of broke at the top. Abraham Ancer will not be playing, so that's going to give Scott Gutchowski, I believe I said that correctly. Scott, if you're watching and I didn't, I apologize. But is going to give him a premier tee time. Now, first, before we get on to that, though, the weather. Looks like spots of wind. It is Texas. It looks like it could creep over 20 miles an hour, but Ben, doesn't look like there's any draw. Have you seen anything differently?
I have not. So we talk about this a lot on this show. Just because it might be windy doesn't mean that there's going to be a draw per se. There could be, but I don't see anything where one wave has a better chance than the other. So I'm not doing anything with the weather. Obviously, I am doing something with Ancer.
Yeah, let's talk. Maybe some of these guys that we're going to talk about. First, in the AM PM. Now, if you are watching ESPN Plus, where the coverage is on, here's who you're going to see mostly. Luke List, Bryson DeChambeau, and Gary Woodland. Reason why I wrote them down, obviously, they are a featured group. But what I like for Bryson here, Ben, is that List and Woodland are similar type players. They rely on the long ball to kind of get it done. List and Woodland are maybe a little bit better with their irons than DeChambeau. But I do like at least Bryson playing with these two guys, given, their stature in the game. Did that tee time make you more interested in Bryson? I know it's a little weird to say, but, given that he is playing with guys that are similar to him, maybe it'll help him a little bit.
I mean, I do think these are not overly important weeks, but I was glad that Bryson played in the match play. I'm glad that he's here, certainly for Augusta next week, but I do think it's a comfortable pairing. He's going to have to figure out his around the green game. Obviously, that's not working right now. He's not at the height of his powers, but I think we all know, or at least this is how I view Bryson. He's in the Matthew Wolff category where when he turns it on, he's going to win. And it might not be a rev up in form. He could come here and destroy the field and it wouldn't shock me. I like that pairing. I like all of those guys, Luke List, Woodland, Bryson, all these guys can obviously play.
Yeah, and Seth in our chat just mentioned it looks like, I guess, maybe Friday afternoon, the wind may kick up a little bit more. Again, it doesn't look like it's going to be a significant advantage. But again, it's just something to monitor. Maybe, Ben, this is where you and I could say, you're playing round 2 showdown, which is certainly probably the biggest showdown contest outside of Sunday, of course. Maybe you do want to stack the morning guys that are going out there. I think that'll be Jordan Spieth and guys like that. But before we move on to Spieth, I want to talk about Rory. Love that he's here this week. I think he's taking a good approach to Augusta. Coming here, not getting his mind, wrapped around him. I get a win. Just comes here, plays, gets it out of it. But he's got Patton Kizzire and Matt Kuchar. I mean, why couldn't they just put him with Decky and Jordan and give us what we want? Why do they got to put these other guys in there, Ben?
Yeah, I am absolutely in lockstep with you. Again, I don't think Rory is going to lose any sleep if he doesn't play great here, but he's taking a different approach in the rev up to Augusta. And I do think he'll be focused. And if he gets off to a start, to me, it would be important for him to try to close the door, particularly if he's in contention over the weekend here. So it's not a spot he usually comes. He's here. He is the top price guy. And I think that's very warranted.
Chat just asked us about John Kevorkian. Isn't this guy like a,
Who?
No, it must be a son or not related at all. I'm thinking of
The
Jack
Kevorkian guy.
Yeah. I don't know John yet, chat. I do know another guy in here, number 2 amateur ranked in the world, Ludwig Ayberg. We'll talk about him way later, but that's a name that I came up with. The Kevorkian guy I did see Monday qualified, but I don't know anything about him, guys. I'm sorry. Just to finish up the waves, then we can go into a rank 'em here. Ryan Brehm also getting himself into a featured group. He's playing with Ryan Palmer, Ricky Fowler. Again, just put the guys that we want together. I don't know why they're breaking them up, but Ricky is interesting this week. Couple of 17th place finishes here, 7,700. I don't mind him this week. He's made the cut. He just hasn't come in the top 10 for us lately.
Yeah, I think that Ricky has finally been so bad that expectations and price and ownership and everything have now reset to a normal level, and I can play him without doing anything crazy. Like, he's mid-priced in a pretty average field at a course that he's shown he's fine at. I think this is where he belongs. He's next to Thigala and Brendan Steele and KH Lee, and that's, I think, his peers on tour right now. So I have no problem with Ricky this week.
One group that I wanted to mention, or maybe just one player from the afternoon, Chad Ramey, coming off a not Puerto Rico Open, the Corrales Championship last week. I feel like that's not getting talked about at all. Now, I understand it's an alternate field event, but when this guy came onto the tour, he was supposed to be one of the best Korn Ferry Tour grads. He hadn't really got it going except for a couple of starts in the fall. It's a big win for him last week.
No doubt. And I actually agree. I'll be honest. I really didn't even know he won until I was brought up on one of the shows earlier in the week. And it just shows that really not a ton of coverage. You're right. It is an all-field event, but that's a guy that we certainly are going to be seeing for a while now, no matter what. And Alex Smalley was someone that I was always pretty high on. Davis Riley's been close. So some of these guys are starting to cash in.
Cameron Young also in that group. Definitely, I would look at those.
That guy's amazing.
As
Cameron Young's just good. I don't really understand, but he's really good.
Yeah, he really is. We're going to see him next week. It'll be interesting. I'm excited to see how he gets around Augusta. So, all right, let's move on to our rank 'em here. But before we do, I'll tell you now about our deal with Yahoo. Of course, like I said, we've got good contests this week and even bigger ones coming next week. And we've partnered with them. And if you have not signed up to play over there yet, well, now is the time to do so. You are going to get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum for just signing up, depositing, and entering your first paid contest. You can see it on the screen now, so it's just for new users. And again, take advantage of this. We've got the Masters coming up next week. We've got so many different sports going on. I mean, we've even got F1 going on. I saw Greg, who I was chatting with before this show. He got involved last week. There's so many sports going on. MLB is just on the verge of coming back. So take advantage and join us on the Awesemo Plus side. Okay, now we got to the rank 'em 10K top range. This is a tough one. Maybe you're going to tell me play 2, but I guess that's not the game. Rank 'em for Rory, Jordan, and Decky. I'll say a quick thing about one at first. Rory has made 14 straight cuts. 5 of those 14 have come in the top 10. He's looked really good. Jordan has come in second recently, as far back as Pebble. So maybe about a month ago. Maybe not his top form, but maybe not his worst. But for Decky, certainly we know he's not in his top form coming in here. He's a little injured. So I'm going to guess you're going to say Rory, Jordan, Decky, but maybe you see something in Decky that I don't. Again, I think Decky will play all 4 rounds because he wants to get in shape for next week. But you have to think he's not here thinking he's going to win.
I would agree. That is the order. I think that's honestly, and not to say that there's big gaps, but I think that's just clearly the order for me. Rory is firing on all cylinders. Spieth, I don't really hold it against him. I don't think the Florida swing, and you can't even call it the swing for him because he barely plays down there. The Players is not an indicator of how he's in form. He doesn't like that place, and I don't think he really ever will, maybe. But so I think he's fine. I just think that Rory's a little more stable, and Decky to me is interesting for what he does for Augusta. If he is okay, if he's average, if he doesn't look hurt, I really am going to target him next week. But I think Decky is more indifferent to me this week.
Yeah, this identical to me here. So the 10K2 range was going to have Abraham Answer, Bryson DeChambeau, and Corey Connors, but Abraham Answer has made it maybe easy on some people that weren't going to play him anyways, which I'm not going to lie. I was in the camp. He was projected for like 18%. I was going to go underweight on him. So now I'll just easily shift that. But I will say that I'm high on Bryson this week. I think that this is a good spot for him. He's underpriced based off of his ceiling. Again, he's not playing good. In the same time that Rory has come in the top 10 5 times in 14 starts, Bryson is 0 for his last 17 and coming in the top 10. Obviously not playing good golf. But is this the slump buster here this week for Bryson, Ben?
So, yeah, I mean, Bryson, obviously, I do think there's an element that when he gets off track, it's harder to get on track. And he hasn't been good at times, at Farmers, but we haven't seen a lot of Bryson. So I'm kind of going to play that game in some large field things and in the betting markets of anticipating. But I do think it's pretty clear that if you told me of the now 4 guys north of 10 that one doesn't have it, I think that Bryson would be the most likely candidate.
And ranking Bryson in Connors, are you going right to Connors, or do you think that was played out last week?
It's tough for me because to me they're so different. I think Connors is so much more likely to come in like 35th more often and not miss the cut. But if you told me one guy wins by 5 strokes, one guy crushes under 70 bonus, I think that's all Bryson. I think when you get the best version of him, he smokes Corey Connors. So I get it. Corey Connors is automatic off the tee. I know Bryson, we talk about him. Corey Connors hasn't lost strokes off the tee going way back to early 2021. So very stable, but he's pretty premium priced.
Yeah, for sure. All right, now let's go to the 9K range where I've got 3 solid golfers, maybe all overpriced though. Again, it's the field strength that's doing this to us. So here are the 3 names: Maverick McNeely, Chris Kirk, and Gary Woodland. Maybe the guy that was most unfortunate not to advance last week was McNeely. He played, really good. Still scored over 100 DraftKings points, so he was still pretty good. How do you rank these 3 this week?
So Chris Kirk has been playing phenomenal golf. He missed a couple of players, but before that, just a really good stretch. Good iron player. I think it's pretty clear that this is the type of course that he can excel at. The course history kind of bears that out. He's littered the top 10 board here. I would put him first. I put Maverick second because Maverick's just a super talent and he's shown it recently. And honestly, you can make a case that Woodland has rounded into form as well. But I'm going to go Kirk over Maverick over Woodland here.
Let's see, my buddy Farmer Boy, Ghetto Farmer Boy, maybe. He wants to know the news on Answer. All we know is that he withdrew. We don't know anything else. Why? But he's not playing in the tournament anymore. I just dropped the wind finder chat. I see that going around in chat about some people saying, what's the weather going to be? This is what I use. Ben, I'm pretty sure it's the one you use to look it up as well.
It is.
So that's just what we're looking at. We're looking at basically 10 to 20 mile an hour per winds all day on Friday, starting at 8 a.m. and ending. Our producer, Tyler, who is a Texas resident, tells us when it's windy in Texas, it's windy in Texas all day. It just doesn't matter what time of the day. So that's probably what I'm going to go with, not going to lie. All right, I got another ranking here for you. I think you're going to like this one, Ben. I'm going to call them the former stars group, although Tony Finau maybe still has a chance to become a star still. Jason Day and Keegan Bradley. Jason Day certainly has had a rough spot in his personal life. But before that happened, Ben, he was playing good golf. Third at the Farmers Insurance, had a couple of good starts over there on the West Coast swing. Florida, though, hasn't been that kind to him. Valspar, probably the last tournament you and I would say we want to see Jason Day play in. Missed the cut there. I'm kind of throwing it out. I do like him a little bit more this week. Probably more than Finau or Bradley at this point.
I think Finau is an interesting bet. You could get 40-1, and he's still Tony Finau, but he should talk about bad form. He's shown nothing. He was a little better in the match play, but he was still pretty bad. Jason Day, the interesting thing, when you dig into the strokes gain numbers, A, they haven't really changed that much between the pair of missed cuts and what he did at Pebble and Farmers, and B, it's not erratic at all. He's just like -1 or +1 in every category every week. There's no like he gained 5 strokes on the irons, he lost 4 strokes doing this. It's very, very even keeled. So I don't know what to really make of that, but I did find it interesting. I'm going to put Day first.
Me too, yeah.
I'm going to put Keegan second, I guess. I have no problem with Finau. I think you just need to know what you're doing there. Large field tournaments, big upside, but he's just been terrible, and I don't know why.
I'm not sure why either. All right, let's go to the high-owned 8K range to rank them. Adam Hadwin, probably going to get even more ownership now. Johnny Vegas coming off a pretty good weekend at Corrales, and Luke List. Probably is going to be the lowest owned out of those guys. I know he's probably projected around 10 or 11%. But how do you rank these three? For me, I don't think I'm playing any of them. But if I had to, it'd go List, Vegas, Hadwin.
I bet Vegas at 55-1. That was a real good number. I jumped on that. Get that on the OddsChecker channel. Head on over there. It's a good old time. I like him, but I think he is getting steamed a little bit looking at our tools and a lot of our premium things like ownership. You guys are all going to be very popular. I do think Hadwin's going to be popular. I'll be under there. List in Vegas, I'm fine with, but I don't know if I'll be able to get leverage. And that's more of a product that the field, I think, is landing in this range more than I am.
Let's go to the loan, guys. Russell Knox, Davis Riley, Charlie Hoffman. I am getting behind the Davis Riley train. What I saw at the Valspar was kind of a culmination of good ball striking, good off the tee game, and finally put a good short game with it. He won the Korn Ferry Tour event here during that COVID year when the PGA Tour couldn't come here, but the Korn Ferry did. And I think that just kind of goes to his game. We know you have to be strong off the tee here to play well. So I know that we're not going to look at a ton of course history, especially with the Korn Ferry Tour, but the fact that he's 8,400 coming off a second place finish and it's going to be under 10% owned, I'll bite. I won't bite on Charlie Hoffman. I know the course history here is equal to maybe like Luke Donald at the RBC Heritage. Like it's that good, but his play, when I see a golfer of mine playing with a back brace, I don't want any part of that anytime soon. So I'm out on Charlie Hoffman. Russell Knox is a mat for me this week.
I'm with. So I like Russell Knox a little bit. I think that the tee to green has been really good. He can't putt. He's lost in 7 of 8 strokes game putting. I'm not sure that'll flip, but if it does, should be good because the rest of the game is solid. I'm not going to buy on Charlie Hoffman either. Talked about this yesterday with Mr. Lindquist. Yes, this is a get right spot for him. He comes to Valero and he definitely plays well in the history, but he's usually had some semblance of form. Miscut, 67th, 71st, miscut. He's done absolutely nothing. Negative tee to green, negative off the tee. You're backing him completely blind if you go to Charlie Hoffman. So I'm not going to do that. Davis Riley's the toughest for me. I always struggle with guys like this because I think there's a chance he's amazing. I think there's a chance that we'll never see him relevant again. I don't know what to do. I'd rather play Knox, but if you tell me that Davis Riley, who looked fantastic at Valspar, has something going on like Thiegel, like some of these other guys, it's a pretty easy sell.
Yeah, totally agree. That I'm in that camp again. I think you just brought up a name though that I'm probably just as high on Thiegel and a couple of others as well in this range. Patton Kizzire and Mito Pereira are the two that kind of stick out right in the same price point. Similar type ownership, both getting around 10 or so percent, Ben. So rank those two. I know it's only a tour, but how are you playing Kizzire and Pereira this week?
So I think I'd go Mito over Kizzire. It's weird that Mito was like super chalk for a while there. He went to the Olympics, was just smoking hot. Then he cooled off. And in 2022, he had a couple bad starts, but when you dig in, particularly recently at the Players in the Honda, he lost over 4 strokes putting in both of them. Everything else has been great. Tee to green is fine. So If you tell me you want to go to Mito, he's a good scorer, attack the par fives. I have no problem with that. Kazire, you know what you're getting in Texas, putting. That tends to work out, but I don't think I'll get to him this week.
All right, here's a fun one for you. I got the Euro grouping now.
Dear God.
Yep. Bobby Mack is here again. Or I shouldn't say he hasn't come to this event, but he's playing this week again. Rasmus Højgaard earns a start from his top 10 at Corrales, where he came 6th. Ian Poulter is here looking for a good finish to get into the Masters again. Last time he was at this backed up against the wall. It was the Houston Open. Ended up beating Bo Hostler to get in. And then the last one, here's one. I could have put a couple of guys in. There was Lee Westwood, Matt Wallace. No. We're going all the way down the board, and we're going to talk about Guido Migliosi. I want you to rank those 4. I know that Migliosi's 6,100. So if you want to put him first and sell me, I'm in. But let's start off and give you the floor here. These 4 guys.
Well, I'll save you the trouble there. He would be last.
Okay.
I'm not playing Guido. I think I'm going to just flip the first 2. I'm going to go Rasmus over Bobby Mack over Poulter over Guido. I think that, again, I know with these, there is some sort of kind of just gut feel. I'll be honest. I just talked about Davis Riley. I think that Rasmus might be amazing. You know, he shows some real flashes, and he's someone I do want to buy on. We just saw him bounce back. He earned his start here. Bobby Mack has shown he can compete against the best. I have no problem with him, but to me, Rasmus is the one of the 4 I'd really like to get to.
Me as well. I also like Bobby Mack, though. I feel like Bobby Mack competes on courses that are heavily reliant on strokes gained off the tee. We know that he's a pretty streaky putter, but he is pretty good tee to green elsewhere. In this course, among most others that we've played this year, really does heavily rely on the strokes gained tee to green. The greens are just easy here, which tends to mitigate any advantage that the strong putters do have, although Spieth gained like 8 strokes putting last year here. So kind of nullifies that, but we know Spieth can do that pretty much anywhere. It doesn't have to be the easiest greens, be the hardest greens like next week that he does it on. For me, McIntyre and Højgaard are exactly the same in my pro plays that you can go check out as part of our Awesemo Plus package. I have them exactly the same percentage on both FanDuel and DraftKings. I think they're maybe a touch better value on FanDuel, coming in at about 9,400. Over there. So keep an eye on that. Ian Poulter, I'm okay with. I don't know that this is a great course. I'd rather pick Guido over him at 6,100. If I'm going down that low, if I'm doing my Rory and Jordan stacks and I say want to try and get somebody else good, like a Davis Riley or something, I'm going to need Guido there. So I will use them in those type of builds. But if not, I think a balanced build is a little bit better way to go.
Yeah, at least I will say this. At least he does something that price point is dead. Poulter is with 5-10 other guys that I would rather play. So he really serves no purpose for me. I'd rather play Ricky, Thigala, Lanto, Denny McCarthy. Guido's competing against like Peter Uihlein. So if you're in the jam, you might actually have to look to him.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's go into the make the cut, which is going to bring up a couple of these other guys in the Ian Poulter range. And before we do, I want to talk, it looks like Nathan, our buddy here, just mentioned in chat, we just got to 75,000 subscribers on our channel. I want to thank all of you that are joining us for our Live Before Lock, our PGA DFS strategy show. Couldn't do it without you guys, so thank you so much for that. Also, make sure you like this video. Give us a little inkling that you like some of the stuff we're giving you. Or, I mean, if you really don't like it, that's fine too. Or don't like some of the plays that Ben and I are going to do. Hey, it takes 2 to make a market. So we love that. All right, let's go on to the make the cut now. Let's talk about Matt Kuchar. Right off the bat, same price as Poulter or right around there. Good starts here. Not a good season. Does he play all 4 days for you this week?
I think that he does. I prefer Rasmus if I had to choose one. But Kuchar, it's been a love-hate relationship with me. I've been targeting him here, and he's been doing what I wanted. It's just so erratic. Top 10 at Sony, top 20 at Valspar, bad in between, though. And, you know, he does a crafty short game. I think he does find the weekend. Not super confident in it, though.
A guy that I have absolutely earmarked to be on the short list of breaking through, meaning actually winning an event that hasn't won an event yet. Sahith Theegala is so far up there for me. He's proving me time and time again that he's here to stay. I'll call it a backdoorish, a Matt Kuchar-ish top 10 at the Valspar, Ben, was never really a part of that event. And then all of a sudden, top 10 at the end of the week. Nice 22nd place at Corrales last week as kind of the odds favorite, played fine. I'm all systems go Thigala. He better play all 4 days this week.
Definitely not as high as you are, but that's because I think you're really, really high, and I like him too. I think he's just a very solid player. I always like to look at, we talk about this mostly with wins, but breakthrough, life-changing. He comes in third at Waste Management and was really in the hunt. Took a minor step back, but now he's back. He top 10 at Valspar and he played fine at Corrales. So it's showing that it's a little more sustainable than a guy who had a lucky week and then he just vanishes. So I think that Thigala is here to stay and the talent is obvious.
Zach Jameson is throwing me for a loop. It looks like Bruce Arians is not here to stay. Speaking of here to stay, I know that's not golf, but I guess Brady's forcing him out. We'll have to dig in a little deeper there. But back to golf. Jeff wants to know if you're going to play on Yahoo at all this week. I think you do play a little bit over there, right?
I do. So completely, honestly, I do play a little over there and I want to play more over there. And I've just done a bad time with time management, particularly this week. This has just been a crazy week for reasons off the course, we'll say. But I might, after the show, go throw a couple in. The great thing about Yahoo, and this is not just a sales pitch, this is the truth, you can make crazy lineups because they have so many guys at the min that you can jam, 2 or 3 studs. So that is the one thing over there that I like to build, because I can build a lineup where guys who are in the mid 7s that we're talking about, they're $20 over on Yahoo, some of them. So I might take a sneak peek after the show. I have not built any lineups pretty much anywhere yet, actually.
Yeah, wait until you see Alex Smalley as the minimum price over there.
Yeah, so now I like 5 guys. That's my man.
What a performance last week. I love him again this week. We're going to get to him here in just a little bit. He is on this list. Also on this list, Ricky Fowler. We've already talked about him. You and I both think he gets through again here, right?
He better. I'm not saying he's going to win and get into the Masters or anything, but these are the type of cuts that Ricky should make, even in his, not at the height of his powers.
Yep. Agreed. KH Lee hasn't missed a cut 13 straight weekends. Now, some of those are, no cuts or whatever, but still consistency is there. Top end, no top 10s. Does have a couple of top 20s though.
Yeah. He's always kind of a tough evaluation because he's, to me, pretty erratic, but he has it. The irons are dangerously electric. When he doesn't, he can be pretty bad. I do think he makes the weekend, but I'm not targeting him this week. So if he has a big week, that would be to my detriment.
Okay, totally fine. Brendan Steele, Doug Gim, Denny McCarthy, Lanto Griffin, your foursome of golfers at 7,500. You can go no, yes, no, however you want to take this.
I'm going to say that Denny is my strongest conviction that he does make it. I've been playing this guy. He's made 9 out of 10 cuts. He's gained strokes putting in 9 of 10. He's just good. I'm going to keep playing him. I'm most worried about Lanto in the group. Talented guy, but really bad form. He went from 39th at Genesis to 52nd at API, missed the cut at the Players, missed the cut at the Valspar, and he lost 7 strokes tee to green. It's going to have to be better than that. So I worry that Lanto may have lost it a little bit.
Me too. And he does go through Ches Reavie-like periods where he's in it for 3 straight weeks, and then he disappears for a couple of months. It's fine. It's a fine PGA Tour player. He'll be around for some time, but you don't really want to play him in these type of stretches. Let's see. Scott Stallings, he popped up at the Valspar. Does that form continue, or was that a one-off?
I think it's probably a one-off. If you want to ride the form, I would understand that. I'm not going to do that. But he does that at times. He flashes. I just wish he was more hovering around flat 7 than where he is.
Alex Smalley is the next one on this list.
We got to play him.
7,100. Is he going to play all 4 days? Does the run continue for him here this week?
I hope so. I love this guy. I don't know why. Every so often there's a Korn Ferry graduate where it's just like, all right, this is my guy.
You got to get behind him. Yeah.
The last one was Brandon Harkins and no dice.
He'll be back. No, he'll be back. He won a KFT event, so he'll be back next year.
Yeah. I hope hopefully I'm still kicking to watch him win his first PGA Tour event. But yeah, no, I think Alex Smalley, who was really close, of course, last week, can keep it going. I like the form. He's not my favorite play out there, but we're starting to get where it's make the cut style and you're really paying off.
For sure. One last thing on Smalley. Do you like the fact that he earned it basically the hardest way you can earn a PGA Tour card, or does that not matter? You just like the player, or both?
I'm not even aware. What does that
Oh
mean?
yeah, so he went through Monday qualifying, earned enough
Look at
FedEx
that.
Cup points to get him into the
Grinder.
Korn Ferry Tour Finals. Gets in through the Korn Ferry Tour Finals. Didn't even go to the Korn Ferry Tour. Just straight grinder on the Monday qualifiers.
See, like, I don't even know these. I don't, because like, oh, Tom Lewis, like, I thought Tom Lewis was on the PGA Tour. Where is he?
No, he's back on the Korn Ferry, or maybe
all
even the DP. Yeah, it's not going.
You see what happens? No one knows the rules, but I just like his game. That's the type of guy. The thing I like about Alex Smalley so far, he seems to me to be able to handle a lot of different conditions, difficult conditions, going low, shootouts, under 70 bonuses, windy conditions. His strokes gained in the wind are really good. I like guys that can plan for different outcomes. He fits a lot of builds for me.
Same here. Totally agree. Lee Westwood is at 7,000. You got to think with his career winding down that he's got eyes on next week and not this week.
Yeah, that's a no. I strongly prefer Schwab or Hostler at the same price.
Me too. A little bit cheaper. So we both think Westwood's going to miss the cut. Just to clarify, David Lipsky is playing some really decent golf. Here's a guy that got over through the Korn Ferry Tour Finals as well. He's been a DP World Tour guy, but he's from US. Finally getting some groove here too, and his name has been on the leaderboard a couple of times the last 3-4 weeks.
This guy's an interesting one. You mentioned that does some work over in Europe, American. He's starting to get it, and he's starting to get some reps. Like, this is not a guy who's coming over for one start. He's made 7 of 8 cuts over here. He's been playing in these events. I think the price is still right. He's in the, the upper 6s. I don't really mind it if you're in a jam. I'm going to, not to call an audible, but can I give you one that's not on the list?
Yeah.
I got to ask you about the man himself. Do you think there's any chance that Lahiri keeps it going, or do you think that was a flash in the pan and it would be kind of chasey to go there?
I mean, maybe it's a little chasey, but he's 3 for 3 here with a top 5.
He is. This is a course he seems to like.
I mean, here's the thing about Lahiri. When he burst on the scene years ago at the PGA Championship and came in the top 5, a lot of people thought this guy was going to be extremely good. Now, maybe he struggled a little bit, but this guy's an enigma. I mean, he's got his own YouTube channel where he's making smoothies. I mean, you got to love him. He's a great personality. I'm okay getting behind it. I think that if I'm going to have 15% Smalley this week, having 8, 9, 10% Lahiri, shouldn't be out of the realm given, the players in the field this week. And given the fact that he just saw probably his best golf he's ever played come 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now, does that mean it's going to continue? Well, maybe not. $2.1 million is certainly good enough for a couple of years, but maybe it'll spur him to really become the golfer some of us thought he'd be. I'm in. I think he plays all 4 days. I won't have him as much as Smalley, though.
Okay. I hope he plays well. There's a lot of guys at that same range. I prefer Smalley. I prefer Fratelli. Kramer Hickok is there as well. I'm just not sure what to make of it because he does this, Lahiri. Like, even if you look back, he occasionally pops up and then he goes back to really bad stretches.
How he keeps his card. Honestly, it's how he keeps his card every year. He throws in 2, 3, 4 top 5s and then just totally disappears. So definitely keep an eye on it. I'm interested. Back to the Euro or DP World Tour Hour. Aaron Rai was a flash in the pan earlier on the season. Has run into some bad form, though. Will Tpc San Antonio Oaks course be a turnaround point for him?
I tend to think no, but when you're talking about guys like this, to me, there's always an element of a macro buy because we just don't really know. He's a guy that plays mostly in Europe. He started to get some reps here. He's shown he can do it. He was top 10 at Farmers, gained a ton. He's lost his form, though. He missed the cut of Corrales. That, to me, is pretty concerning because that's one of the worst fields of the year.
Not missing the cut of Corrales and having his best finish of the season is another guy that certainly I think you and I would both agree has underperformed his potential. Wyndham Clark has had 2 near misses, Honda Classic and Bermuda Championship in the last couple of years. 6,800. Weird as this sounds, $500 overpriced for me. I think we're getting the same thing out of Kevin Tway. I think Clark does play all 4 days. I think Tway also plays all 4 days. I would rather play Tway right now.
Yeah, Wyndham Clark is always he's another guy. He's a tough evaluation because his strokes gain data is really odd. He's a really good driver of the ball and a good putter, but he's a horrendous iron player and he's bad around the green. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I have trouble with that. I wish he was a little cheaper as well. I think I would try to find the money to get the Hostler Schwab.
A guy that is a good fit for this section because he's made, he had made 5 of his last 6 heading into Corrales, but then missed the cut. Doc Redman, why did he miss the cut last week? Why did he even go? I guess probably because he needs the FedEx Cup points. And can you see him playing well this week?
Yeah, that's definitely a weird data point. Now it is just 2 rounds of golf. So I'm not going to freak out, but it seemed like he had something going on. He had made 5 of 6 cuts heading into Corrales. Seemed like momentum was going, in the right direction. Then boom, back to square one. So if you wanted to go there, I wouldn't push back. I'll say this, Grayson Sigg is the same price at 67. I think I would lean to Grayson Sigg, who's made 8 of 9 cuts, 25th last week at Corrales. He's just kind of cashing checks out there.
He is. He really is. It's such a good point. Also at 6,700, a former winner of this event, coming off his best finish at the Corrales last week, Kevin Chappell.
Oh boy. Him and Jason Day combos. If one plays good, the other always plays good.
How you just read my mind. One of my biggest scores was them throwing it down at the Players a couple of years ago when Chappell and Day were like the only 2 that played well all week. So interesting. I'm gonna have to go back to that stat this week. Or that
I gotta ask you another curveball here because you are saying potentially crazy things in the chat. You really think he's gonna play next week?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I have been convinced since I saw him play the father-son that he was gonna play. I remember talking to you about it, and you said no chance. Eric Lindquist said he was playing the Genesis. I said no chance to that because no. Yeah. I think he plays next week. I don't think he would have flown in on Wednesday if he didn't have a good inclination he was going to play. The interview we saw last night on Golf Digest is him just talking about the course changes. Nothing like, oh man, that was hard for me. That was different. He's playing, and he's playing well. He's going to top 10 like he's been playing all freaking year because that's Tiger Woods, baby. We love it. Now moving on to Andrew Novak.
Yes. Who's him and Tiger Woods. When you hear one name, you hear the other, like clockwork.
Our buddy in the chat, though, I got to bring this up. Mike Campbell told you at one point in one of these chats that he was going to win a GPP with Novak on his team, and he did. So we got to give a shout out to him there. That's great stuff. Did play well last week. So does that run continue? I know we're getting to names we may not know, but in this weak field, this is what we got to do.
Yeah, I mean, some of these guys are going to play pretty well. Now, this dude, he's tough for me because when he rarely plays well, it's always at places where we don't have strokes gain data. So he seems to like these island courses, Corrales, Puerto Rico, Mayakoba, Bermuda.
Anywhere where we can't understand what his game is.
So I don't even know what he's doing. Good for that guy. I'm not going to get to him. There's really no way at 65. I would rather play Tyler Duncan if I had to play someone at that price.
Okay. Nate Lashley was 10,300 at Corrales last week, or 10,200. He was roomed with Joel Damon, who I'll give you just a quick little story here. It is 8:40, so we're doing well on time. I went to my honeymoon down there, and my wife is a pharmacist, and we forgot to bring a specific medication that you're supposed to bring to the Dominican to prevent things to happen to your stomach that happened to Joel Damon last week, and that's why he had to withdraw. I don't know if you saw the tweet from who was it? It was Mark Hubbard. Hubbard had a picture of Joel Damon holding a toilet. And said Damon wins 2 years in a row in the Dominican Republic. So that's why Damon withdrew. He obviously got a bad case of the travelers. You know what? Nonetheless, Nate Lashley is 6,800 here this week. Does he make the cut again here?
He's an interesting play. Again, I think a lot of these come down to portfolio builds, and the tools that we have on the site can really help you with this because you don't have to allocate 30%. Now, if you're only playing 3 teams, each guy is a 33 and a third share. So it's a lot harder. But if you're playing 50 lineups and every guy is 2%, playing 8% of a guy like this who's in some form, I think makes a lot of sense. So we've seen this. And the thing about a guy like Nate Lashley, he can do it. We've seen him do it on tour. So I get it. And this is a pretty good string of form from him. He's only a couple years removed from a win on the PGA Tour.
So it's been, just give me to vet it here. The Zozo Championship was the last time that Matt Wallace was inside of the top 60 on the PGA Tour, and it was a 4th place finish. He had a 3rd place finish here last year, finishing just behind Hoffman and Spieth. Is this the spot for the guy from England to get it going again, or is his game just absolutely lost, which it certainly looks like it?
I have to think it's the latter. He's shown nothing. And this is guy, you mentioned like the Zozo, and you mentioned some form here. He also top 5 at a major. Like, this is a serious player. Not back in the day, like decades ago, just a couple of years ago. And I don't understand. He's missed 5 straight cuts. He's lost strokes off the tee in all 5. I don't know how that's not a recipe for success. And if he doesn't flip that, it's going to be 6 straight after he misses the cut this week.
Yeah, it's just not going good. We talked about Guido at 6,100. Do you think he makes the cut? I mean, he's playing just as bad as Wallace right now.
Yeah, I don't think he makes the cut. I think that the combination of this isn't if he was coming over playing, fantastic, as good as he's played, I'd say, yeah, absolutely. But he has not had a lot of success over here, and he has not looked good recently. So no, I don't think he makes the cut.
Our buddy Brian in chat says Wallace is shooting in the 80s this week.
It seems that way.
It is definitely plausible at this point. All right. We'll talk about let's see, 3rd. He's the 3rd ranked amateur in the world now. Ludwig Ayberg. He's made the cut at Bermuda, missed the cut at the RSM. Honestly, I think this kid could be good in a couple of years. We've seen a lot of these top ranked amateurs translate into solid professional players, but it's too short for me, Benny. You know me, I'm loving to get behind these young guys. This guy is not Colin Morikawa to me. I'm sorry. So I'm just not there yet.
Yeah, I think it would be pretty unnecessary to do that. I don't know if you need to go this low. If you do, there's still some play. I would rather play Peter Uihlein. That's my guy. I play that guy all the time. I don't think you need to play any of these guys, though, unless you're really in a jam. So for me, it would be unnecessary to play this Mr. Beethoven or whatever this guy's name is. Probably a talent. I hope he does good, but I have no reason to not. I don't know who this guy is. I'm not playing him now.
Oh my God, amazing. All right, let's move on to our betting cards. Then we'll definitely have some times for some lineup builds. We'll even talk about Yahoo, Ben, where we can try and do some 3 stacks of even Bryson, Rory, and Jordan, which, remember that one from my hot take, Ben. Remember those 3 names. We'll get to that here in a couple of things. But here's my betting card. I looked, it's such a deep field in terms of where people are coming from, right? There aren't a ton of good Americans playing. Spieth and Bryson are the top 2. And I went to their top American odds offered on DraftKings Sportsbook and found Spieth at 8-1 and Bryson 22-1 for their top American. So that would give me a 4-1 payout or an 11-1 payout, if I bet both of them, total payout, of course. I like those 2. I mean, you mentioned betting Tony Finau. His number wasn't bad either, but I got to think if Bryson has a ceiling week, maybe he doesn't beat Rory if Rory has a ceiling week, but he certainly will be probably the top American on the board. So oddly enough, that's where I went to start my card this week.
I'm not going to hate it because a lot of the top guys, Rory, Decky, Connors, Siwoo, none of them are American. So
Right.
You're really fending off Chris Kirk and Woodland. And obviously there's a deep pool of Americans in this tournament, but for top end firepower, I think there's a pretty big gap. I put a couple guys in that mid-range betting card, Vegas. I think Finau is kind of interesting. I bet Answer. I think that probably now has a somewhat low probability of cashing, but that's all right. Get that money back. That's one of the beauties of betting. No harm, no foul.
Exactly.
So there are some guys I want to just throw this out. And again, when you're talking about crazy long shots, you know what you're getting into. But like a guy like Bo Hostler, to me, he was sitting in like the 140-1 range to win. Now that's probably a stretch, but even to get in the mix, I mean, you're looking at Bo Hostler. He's 6-1 for a top 20 out there. Like I can get on board with something like that.
And listen, he's no stranger to playing good at this time of the year. I mentioned earlier with the Ian Poulter in Texas. No, granted it's Houston, and Houston and San Antonio are not that close. I'm not saying they are, but still Hostler's from Texas, obviously has played some good golf here. Second at the Houston Open a couple of years ago. I'm totally cool with that. He's played good this year. Certainly has looked better than in years past. So I can absolutely get behind that 6-1. And the other guy that I found in the top 20 bet that I loved, Ben, was Alex Smalley. 4-1, coming off a great finish. And then one more. Chad Ramey won last week. He's 5.5-1 to top 20. I added both those guys. I think they're playing good golf, and I don't see any reason it stops here this week.
No, again, I think if, of course, you've got Rory and if you get past the first couple, I think it's wide open for a first-time winner for a guy that doesn't have a ton of pedigree. Is it open for Kyle Stanley at 420-1? No, but it is Kyle Stanley, and I probably will do something with that because I hate myself. But there is definitely opportunities for some of Streelman at 65. I think that's a fine call, not on my betting card, but I get it. Those are the type of guys I think are worth attacking this week.
We didn't bring up Streelman at all. He's got a couple of top 10s here as well and is playing good golf. I think it was 15th at the Valspar last week or a couple of weeks ago. Playing fine. Played good at Arnold Palmer as well. So I do like Kevin Streelman a little bit more. I just didn't find a place to fit him in. So, okay, I think that'll cover the betting cards. Let's go into a little bit of lineup builds. We've talked about Yahoo a couple of times, and you mentioned that we can fit in, more studs over there. So what I want to do is I want to start off with the 3 studs playing in the field this week. Give me 1 second here. There we go. Pulling up my Yahoo here. And when we add in those 3 guys, our average price per player is $21, which is fine, right? Because we got to find 3 low, basically minimum salary guys. First guy we're clicking is Alex Smalley because we know he is over there. Why don't you throw me a name that you like down below that you think would be minimum salary, and I'll tell you if it fits. How about that?
Okay, we can do that. Yeah. So you mentioned Smalley.
Yep.
I think the obvious one is Beau Hossler. Beau Hossler's the min salary, and that just doesn't make sense.
Love it. Okay, and now we've got 25, so we've got quite a bit left. We've got guys like Dylan Fratelli, who you mentioned, Schwab, Grayson Sigg. Do you want to get conservative here, given the fact that we went with 2 20-price guys and throw in a guy like Sigg, who is, again, he's cashing checks right now. That might be all we need in a contest like this.
Yeah, I'm totally okay with that. I think you could go to him. If you wanted to play Chad Ramey again, he's in that range, couple bucks cheaper, but no problem with that. Ideally, and Chad just brought him up, we can't get to Matthew Neesmith. We're $100 short or $1 short. I would have preferred him. He played really well at Valspar.
Yeah, and Davis Riley is just $2 above that as well at 27 on Yahoo. A really, really good value. In fact, I think he's one of the top values there. So interesting. Couple of guys we can click around there. For doing this exact lineup, I think for me it would go Grayson Sigg, Chad Ramey, Mateus Schwab. Those would be the 3 guys that I'd click around in this.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's do one on DraftKings now. We'll talk about thoughts on Nick Taylor. Yes, sorry, this is exactly a great time to ask if we didn't bring up any of your players that you'd like us to chat about. Nick Taylor, I think he's a fine play. He's shown that he's a pretty good golfer. Not a great field. I think he can be fine here this week.
Nick Taylor, 73. I think that's probably why I was gonna say I didn't really look at him a ton. That's because he's in a sandwich spot between Denny McCarthy and co. and Schwab and Hossler. Guy's making cuts, and he makes a lot of cuts for his price. He's made 9 of 10 cuts. I think that's a fine play. He didn't stand out, but he could be very effective.
Wow, Nick Taylor's 9 of 10 of his last
Higo,
cuts.
176-1. You have any Higo interest?
We're still figuring out who this guy is, and it's concerning me because he's 22 years old, so he's going to be extremely volatile. And he's not like a Joaquin Neiman where the guy just comes out and plays well every week. He's not that way. The Waste Management top 21's his best start this year. I don't think we need to chase Ben. I'll have he's in the 2% bracket. Honestly, he's in the 1 to 5%. I call him hole in ones. He won't be in many lineups, but he's in the player pool. Nick Taylor is, what'd you just say, 9 of his last 10 made cuts, and he's 4 of his last 5 here. 20th place. Sign him up for 28th right now. So if you're playing, say, the $200 single entry, Could you win with Nick Taylor coming in 28th in your lineup? Yeah, probably. If you have, of course, a good other, 5 other guys. I don't hate it. Don't love it. It's not a bad play, though, for this field. Not going to lie. Okay, on to the DraftKings build here. Let's start off with, it seems like you and I both like Rory a lot. We like that his mindset being here. If we pair him with Jordan, we're going to have to get a ton of Alex Smalley, the David Lipsky, the Bo Hostler range. But if we go down to Bryson, it opens it up a little bit more. So if you're playing a 2-stud, are you okay with going Rory Jordan, or would you rather do Rory Dechambeau in this build?
So I think you can make either work. Let's put in Rory and Bryson and see where we land. You're going to have plenty of salary because to me, the natural next point would be someone like Sig. He's 67. And now we're wide open. We can do a lot here. You have 3 spots for 7,300.
Yeah, and again, if you really want to get aggressive and you think that coming over to the PGA Tour and playing in Augusta next week will be what Migliozzi needs to get going, okay. Again, this is where I'd use him in a really aggressive build with a Jordan, Rory. But again, like you said, at 7,000 price per player, we've mentioned a lot of guys we like right at 7 or 6,900. You don't need to dip down to Migliozzi. I'm just saying this is where I likely would if I was going to.
It's my U line.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need to do that.
Let's now just go with clicking Rory and say, you know what, Jordan's going to come in 9th. Rory's going to come in 2nd. Likely not going to be on the optimal together. So we got 7,700 left. Where's the second guy you're going after Rory if it's not Jordan or Bryson?
So if I was going, I have a more just like standard build. This is where it gets to me more interesting. I think it would be Day for me.
Okay.
Flat 9. You can still do a lot. If you told me you wanted to go all the way down and go like very balanced, I think that you could go like Streelman and really pepper like Bobby Mack and Rasmus and Thigala together. Yeah. I prefer going Day though, and then probably only getting 1 or 2 as opposed to 3 or 4 in the 7s.
Would you play McIntyre, Hogard, and Thigala even though they're all the same price? Would you just throw them all in a lineup though?
I do that all the time. I think that that's an interesting build where you just like click 3 or 4 guys in a row. Like I don't know if this is like a soccer. I always picture it like a 1-4-1. So like 1 stud, 4 guys literally in the same like $500 range, and then 1 cheapie. I do that a lot. I like builds like that.
Interesting. Because now we throw in Neesmith or Smalley. I just both those brought up in chat. And now we're left with 8,100 to fill that last spot. You can go to Pereira, Kazire. We haven't talked anything about Ryan Palmer, who just signed up to play with Scotty Scheffler at the team event there in New Orleans. The guy is just picking number 1 ranked golfers in the world and staying on tour because of it. But he has been very bad since the Sony Open. I think chat was talking about him earlier on and saying, thought he was going to have a big year after the big start, but has done nothing. 8,000 seems expensive, doesn't it? Even with the play Palmer in Texas narrative going on.
It does. It's not as egregious as Charlie Hoffman, the way he's playing, but it's close. And the putter is broken. He just hasn't shown a lot. So he could flip it, but you're paying a pretty sizable tag. And to me, the biggest thing is there's an opportunity cost. It's not that I don't want to play Ryan Palmer. It's I want to play the guys around him. So it's a double whammy when you click him over Rasmus, over Ricky, over some of these other guys.
Let's see, Zach in our chat loves our play U-line speech and Rory and just call it a day.
And now we got keep an eye on this.
He wants us to play all 3 and play the minimum price, guys.
Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster, and I'm here for it. And now we have to keep an eye on. I'm not breaking any news, but it seems like Decky once again is back. Could have some issues. So, as we always advocate, get up before lock, set the alarms, make sure, because if he is out, you will be playing pseudo rig free if you catch it.
Yeah, no doubt about it, especially those that don't catch up. It could just do a global swap into Spieth, which I think most people playing Decky would be comfortable with that this week. So
definitely,
if that does happen, expect the ownership of Jordan to just skyrocket, which, it is what it is. All right, let's see. We got a couple minutes. I just want to make sure. Jason Kelly asked us about Adam Hadwin. I think you and I are both underweight, if I caught correctly from what you said. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. And thoughts on Johnny Huff for cheap on DK? Yeah, he's popped a couple of times this year, but I think you're talking about 6,400. If I'm going down that low, I'm probably just going to try and play Migliozzi. I don't know. I guess Ha's not that bad, but I just can't see myself clicking the name much.
Who?
Johnny Ha. Johnny who? Johnny question mark?
Yeah, the question mark, man. Yeah, I'm not going to play him. Again, I'm not playing even close to 150. I'm playing pretty light the week before the Masters. So like these guys would maybe be in a 50 team build, but I'm not sure they're going to be in anything near a single entry 3 max, 5 max.
I just saw Nelson chime in about the global swap. Yeah, he's got it already pre-coded for that not to happen. That's pretty great. All right, let's see. Let's go over our hot takes now. Ben, you ready for this?
Yeah, I gotta find a good hot take. My takes are a little too. They're either too crazy or like Rory comes in the top 40, which that's not a hot take. We got to find a nice lukewarm hot take. So what do you got for us here?
All right, I got one. All right.
Okay.
I got Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, and Bryson DeChambeau, all 3 coming in the top 10 this week.
Okay.
None of them
going. They're
None of them winning though.
That's a logical fallacy hot take. I like those. Yeah. So close, but no cigar style.
Yeah, all in the top 10, none winning.
Okay, let's see. Can I justify? Now we're getting somewhere.
And Sahith Theegala wins.
Oh, just throw that in, by the way. No problem. Here we go. Here's a hot take for you.
Let's do it.
You know who also almost won last week? It wasn't Alex Smalley. It was Bermuda, Ben Martin.
Oh my God, it was. There. Oh, I can't believe I didn't bring him up
Martin. Now, most likely it is going to be just a data point in a not meaningful 2022 season, but he is kind of trending in the right direction. He's got some decent starts at Valero. I'm going to say that Ben Martin can get inside the top 20. And if you're in the betting markets, you're going to get paid off at 9-1. You'll get paid more money for a Ben Martin top 20 than you will for a Rory outright. So if you do that, and if you really want to rev it up, his top 10 odds are massive. That would be 21-1 on Ben Martin. I would say that's a long shot, but does it happen more than 5% of the time? I think with the way he showed at Corrales, I think it does. He's played some decent golf over the years. Bermuda guy. Give me Ben Martin to make it 2 straight weeks of very effective play out there.
Bermuda Ben. Did you check his interview out, by the way?
I did not. That makes me sad.
It was just good stuff. Nothing like we can take.
He's just a baller. I love that guy.
Just a baller. Just kind of like choked up. You know, this got him status back. The second place at Corrales got him status back on tour, where he was, begging for starts, basically way down the list. So, it was just emotional for him. Obviously, not to get the win, but still a big time start. I love that call. I love you going back to the guy. So you gotta love it. So okay. If you're stacking 3-6K guys to get in Spieth, McIlroy, and DeChambeau, I wish you all the luck. I will be there with you in at least one lineup. Look at Aaron Badley to pair up with Peter Udline. I won't tell you the other guy. You can click any of them. It won't matter at this point. But all right, we have a fantastic week of golf coming up next week. This week, of course, Tpc San Antonio. It does play similar to Augusta in terms of the par and yardage. That's about it, though. But at least the golfers playing here this week will have some of the same irons they'll play next week, and we'll get some good reps in. So we have an amazing set of content coming out next week. We've got a couple of things just specific for the major. We've got a bunch of stuff on the OddsChecker channel. So make sure you're tuned in. Make sure you're like and subscribe to both channels. Get notified when those do come live. So until next week, everybody, and it will be a fun and fast week. Win some satellites this week. Win the $200,000. Build that bankroll because someone's taking $1 million down next week. Good luck, everybody, and we will see you on the other side. Cheers.
3 millies next week.